Hey everyone, so since this is your first project where you actually have to create a document from scratch, I want to walk you through how to use InDesign's features to set up the specs for your design. Alright, so once you've launched InDesign, come over here to Create New and click on it. Whenever the pop-up window comes up, select Print. Now, over here inside the preset details, you want to make sure that your units are set to inches. And for the width, we're going to type in 9. For the height, we're going to type in 6. And for facing pages, you can deselect this for now. And I'm going to show you what that does here in just a second. Now, if you know the number of pages that you're going to have, you can type that in here, but I'm also going to show you how you can add additional pages here in just a second. But if you want to type in 5 for this particular project, you can. All right, so let's scroll down. Don't worry about the columns. You can leave it set to 1. For margins, you need to have a 0.25 margin all the way around. And so whenever you're typing in your margins, you'll notice right over here, you have a chain link. If you see it where it's broken like this means you can have a separate margin for each side of these. Okay, they can all be a different size. But whenever it's linked, whatever size you put in one of them, for example, 0.25, and then select over to the side, it will automatically apply that same number all the way throughout. It keeps it uniformed. Okay. All right, so let's come down here to our bleed and slug. If you don't see that, just expand it right here. For your bleed, you want to type in 0.125, and that needs to go around all sides. So again, make sure that you've got the full chain link right there. And let's type in 0.125, and I'll explain that here in a separate video. Okay. And again, just clicking over to the side applies it to everything. Okay. And for the slug, you don't need to worry about a slug. I'll show you what these guides are here in just a second, but slugs are really for printers. When I say the printer, it's for the person who'll be running your file. They may want a slug, they may not. All it really does is off to the side of your print, sort of outside in that extra white space, it's just going to basically print things like the title and date of the actual document. So, but most cases you don't need to do that. All right, so once you've got that done, hit a create. Okay, so here's our document. So you'll notice right here, this is our margin, which you guys have been working with lately. But you're going to notice something new on the outside, and that's this red line. Let's zoom in on that. That is your bleed. And I'll talk more about its particular function here in just a second. All right, so with your document set up, let's click off to the side out here, and just to kind of show you how you can get back to these properties. Whenever you don't have anything selected, if you look inside your properties bar, this is your actual document. There's your 9x6. So again, if you messed up, you can always type it in here. There's your margin. So again, if you forgot to put in a margin, you can set it here. And of course, here's your number of pages. Now, just to kind of show you what the facing pages does, let's go ahead and add a few more. So let's add 3 for just right now. Okay, and let's click on facing pages. So now with 3 pages created, I'm going to come over here to my Pages tab and see what happens. So right now we're on page 1, but if I go to page 2, it puts them side by side. This is great whenever you're working with brochures sometimes, but typically whenever I'm working, this is me. I go back to my properties panel and I deselect that because I like to be able to see them. I like to treat each one individually, and that's pretty much what you've been doing throughout this semester. Okay. And if you want to add additional pages, again, deselect everything. You come over here to properties, you can add more pages right there, or you can also do it from here. So for example, you can just click and drag a new page, or down here at the very bottom, you can just click create a new page. So multiple ways to do it, but overall you're going to have at least a 5. And then one last place to kind of go to if you need to make modifications to your document. For example, you'll notice on your properties bar, even though you have your margins, you don't see anything for your bleeds. So if you click Adjust Layout and bring up this window, you can access your bleeds right here. And you can also see your margins and, of course, your measurements. So again, if you don't necessarily set up your document right the first time, you can always come back into your current document and change it. Or what's worse is just in case you are working on something and you find out from a client or printer that they have to change the size, again, you can always come in here and adjust that without having to start all over. Okay, now on for the inside of your document, on these 5 pages, keep in mind that 3 of these are going to be reserved for the front. Okay, again, you have to have 3 different variations. So go and use those as the top 3 as the front of your postcard. For pages 4 and 5, I would tell you to take a guide, and that's again, click over here on the ruler, click and drag out a guide to the 4.5-inch mark. And pretty much assume that anything on the right side of this for the back cannot be used. There has to be room for the posting label as well as the mail to information. So this half of the back side of your postcard is reserved for the post office. Everything on the left, you can have free reign to be able to do whatever you want inside of there. And same thing on page 5. Again, click and just make sure that you've dragged out a guide at that 4.5-inch mark. All right, and so as a review, you want to make sure that your document is 9 by 6, has a 0.25 margin. Okay, any important information must be kept inside this margin. I don't want to see any text above or to the side of that. You must also have a 0.125 bleed that goes all the way around your document. And again, any color that's going to touch the edge or any photograph that's going to touch the edge of your document must extend itself out to that bleed line. Okay. And on the inside of your pages, pages 4 and 5, you need to make sure that you have a guide set at 4.5-inch mark to make sure that you don't accidentally put any information beyond that. Again, anything to the right of this is reserved solely for the post office. All right, so if you got any questions, reach out.